What in blithering hell is Death Stranding? Is it a game? Is it a movie? Is it just a meme? I'm not certain, but it definitely came out with one of the weirdest and most intriguing gameplay trailers of E3 this year. So this game was first announced during E3 in 2016, and back then it was a little bit confusing. No one really knew what the game was or what it was about. And at E3 this year we finally got to see some gameplay, and thankfully all of the questions have been answered. Okay, I lied. Not really. We're not any wiser about what on earth is going on here, but that also makes the game kind of intriguing. And the first time I watched the new trailer, I just assumed that it was a training simulator for UPS. Maybe it is, but I've pieced together everything we know about the game so far for this video, just for your entertainment. So the development of Death Stranding is being led by no other than Hideo Kojima, who you may know from a little game series called Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
And this game has got no shortage of big names on board either. Actor and director Guillermo del Toro is involved with the project. Hannibal and Bond bad guy Mads Mikkelsen. Lea Seydoux, who also starred in a Bond movie. They're all present in the game, and the main character that you play is called Sam, and he is portrayed by Norman Reedus from Walking Dead fame. The entirety of the gameplay we saw at E3 was mainly filled with your character Sam Bridges mountaineering across dangerous terrain while fighting the rain and wind and elements. The character is walking up mountains, climbing, fighting rainstorms, and he seems to be transporting things back and to. Supplies, packages, Amazon Prime deliveries. At one point we see him carrying what looks like a corpse on his backpack. Not entirely sure what's going on here, maybe some black market stuff. And he does say in the trailer that he makes deliveries. But that's not even the most crazy thing that we saw. We got a glimpse of him pulling off an infected or radiated toenail, which was pretty horrible. But we also see him holding a tiny baby encased in a synthetic womb. And this fits in with some of the earlier footage of the game involving babies, which honestly got people just really confused. But where is he delivering the baby? And is it just a metaphor? Who knows? Is this real life? The whole game seems to focus on the idea of the connection between life and death. Early on in the gameplay we see the main character Sam enter a cave, and then there are some ominous giant footprints that start appearing, but there's no visible creature leaving them there. A woman then appears, played by Lea Seydoux, and tells Sam that these things never stay gone for long. Ominous, but still highly confusing. Later on in the gameplay we see Sam putting the synthetic womb on his chest, which is of course holding the baby, and then plugging it in and turning on some kind of detection device. Maybe the energy life force of the baby plus the device can detect these creatures, and he's surrounded by creatures after telling someone on his comms that the chiralium density is increasing. What the hell is chiralium? He's told that if one of the creatures eats him, he will return, but the surrounding area will be a crater. The baby clearly serves some importance in this game, but it's unclear on what that is right now. Perhaps it's a power source, or with the game's clear connection to life and death, it could serve an even bigger meaning. Did he have the baby with him the entire time? It does seem to have an umbilical cord of sorts from the synthetic womb into his suit, but what's powering what? Is the womb powering the suit, or vice versa? What we do know, or what we think, is that the game has elements of time travel. And I remember Kojima saying something like, when you die in this game, it's not going to be the same as dying in any other game where you just respawn. So when you die, you can return to where you died, but the destruction caused by your death will remain in your game until the end. And if you die a lot, well, you would imagine that there's going to be a lot of destruction. And in that interview that I was talking about with IGN last year, Kojima shed a little bit of light on the process of dying in Death Stranding, and he said that when you die you go to a sort of purgatory where you're free to explore, and because of some of the unique abilities that Sam possesses, he can wander out of his body, recovering items and other things. At this point, are you really dead or alive, or neither? And when you want to return you can, but instead of the game taking you back to a point before you died, it's going to do things differently. It will acknowledge your death in the game, and that has a big impact on the world around you. So it looks like the whole game is designed around this idea of life, death, reincarnation, and everything that's crazy in between. Hideo Kojima is not one for simple ideas. Earlier on in the gameplay, just before Lia Sado speaks to Sam, he's trying to pick a picture up off the ground, presumably of his family, when he's touched by some rain, another part of the game called Timefall. It does some pretty severe damage to Sam's hand, and Timefall can deteriorate and age anything it hits, again suggesting a big element of the game could revolve around time travel or fast forwarding. In the one scene with the monsters crawling along in the handprints, you can see that they fast forward the flowers and grass in the ground. They quickly grow and then die. So perhaps it's possible that Sam has now entered an alternative timeline and that's why he's lost his family. Lia Sado's character tells Sam that the timefold fast forwards everything that it touches, but it can't wash everything away. The past just won't let go. And then right at the end of the gameplay, we see a woman on a beach and it looks a lot like the woman in the photo that Sam was holding. So is it possible that he's trying to get back to them, lost in time somewhere? It's most likely related somehow to that. The game will also have online elements, but there hasn't been much in the way of details when it comes to that. Online and co-op have been spoken about previously in interviews, but the details surrounding them have been very scarce. Death Stranding is something very, very different, and sometimes those games can turn into something very special. The game has an incredible cast of actors and visually it looks amazing. We only got to see a handful of environments, but they all looked very spectacular, and it feels like the core of the game is going to revolve around you travelling through the world quite a bit. Exploration seems like it's a huge part of the game. The story itself feels like it's trying to focus on a lot of emotional topics as well as provide something very different for gamers, something that they're definitely going to remember, and as with all of Kojima's games, it does seem like it's adult focused and for a more mature audience. The game will have combat, but according to Kojima, it's all entirely optional. So there are enemies in the game, but it's possible to power through it and the game will offer you multiple ways to go around things should you choose to. Kojima said that the goal of this game is not fighting with your enemies and defeating them, but to reconnect with the world. He goes on to say that a lot of people out there are interested in shooters, and people can do that in this game. However, I would not recommend that, and through playing the game, people will realise that it's not the ideal option, although that option will be there. Now, we actually saw a number of different people in the trailer doing the same as our main character Sam, but it's been confirmed that you can't pick a different character to play as. So Sam is our guy, the main character here, and that, it seems, is set in stone. From what we've seen and heard so far, Death Stranding looks like it's going to offer up something very new and different to what we're used to. And it definitely caught my attention because it's just so out there with plenty of confusion thrown in. It's also another PlayStation exclusive. Unfortunately, there's still no release date, which is pretty surprising considering it's been shown off at multiple E3s now for a number of years, but I guess we'll have to wait a little bit longer to find out what Kojima does next after the legacy he left with Metal Gear. I think it's going to be great, whatever it is. It looks fantastic. So let me know your thoughts on Death Stranding down in the comments below. Have you heard anything else about the game that I didn't mention here? Write it down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.